One of the things I hear from artists when I do my Q2 conferences are how do I use playlists? And I may be biased because I'm very heavy on things that like to me a lot of streaming is passive income to me. So um unless you're an artist that's very heavy online and in the space where you can do millions of plays and all that, all the above, then to me, I've always felt like I needed to focus on things that I could make direct income from, and I could basically build a blueprint with that. So when people say playlisting, I'm not very heavy into actually playlisting my music. Now I have playlisted music, of course, and naturally, and to some that and people try to act like you don't have to pay for playlists, but in a lot of spaces there's ways to pay for playlists, trust me, and you can get on to those playlists, everything like that, and there's ways to naturally get placed on playlists. Now, inside this understanding, what I say is the use of playlisting only makes sense when you've already built a fan base, because what happens is you can leverage it for other things. When I already have, let's say, 500 fans in Colorado or something of that nature, then what I'm doing is I'm taking that playlist to be like, hey, I'm already getting plays like this, my plays are looking like this, and I'm using it to leverage myself in either other markets or towards sponsors, or just the ambiance of what my fans feel when they see these numbers like this. Then that's what I'm leveraging with those playlists. So I always tell artists, like me personally, and this is anyone can do it however they want to do it. However, what I believe is I've never been a big fan of trying to, like, that being my first step. My first step was always, how do I get fans in my region or in my state or in my city. That was always my first move, because I see a lot of artists that hit all these playlists, and then when they go do shows, no one comes. And the reason is because those playlists can spread to your fans everywhere. It could be like 10 people in Zimbabwe, 5 people in Atlanta, 30 people in Russia, all that. And then how do you even control that? How do you even get to a point where you can know who they are to the point that you can consistently stay in front of them? You don't know if they just like your song, or if it plays because of the playlist, or if it just, yeah, rotates because they're connected to that playlist, if they actually like the song or whatever like that. So I can't really make a data point to where I can say, hey, this is a fan and they're going to be worth this much to me and my business as a musician. So to me, my first goal is always going to get the actual fan. Now, if you do decide to play this, as I said, if you do decide to go to playlist route, once you have fans, it's a lot of leverage in it. So because a lot of the industry still determines things based off of these numbers, such as Instagram numbers, playlist numbers, everything like that, like how many plays you have on Spotify and everything else, Prime and all that. Since that still exists, you can leverage it sometimes when you go to a new market, and you can say, look at this artist, this artist has this much. You can also probably even leverage it towards labels in some instances, to where labels still look at it and go like, hey, this man has this many plays, he must be popping. And so use it to your advantage. um as I say, in the meantime, you still have to, if your goal is to live off music, in the meantime, you still have to make money. So 300, $3,000 per 1 million plays isn't what I'm saying, like, isn't ideal in the format of what you should be, what you should focus on if the idea is to live off of music. Now, if it's just a hobby, or if it's something that you can make side money off of and stuff, amazing. That's great. That's great for you. For me, I was never in that space. I always had my back against the wall, that I'm like, I have to live off this music because this is what I love to do. Step one, it's what I love to do. Step two, how do I live off of it? So this is the only thing I'm doing. Because some people try to put them in two different categories and say, hey, either you just do it for the love or you do it for the money. I don't believe in that. There's always levels and priorities of this. Now, I do it for the love, step one. My second step is, well, I don't want to do nothing else the rest of the today. I just want to make music the rest of today. So then if that's my second goal, then I have to come up with the blueprint for me to make consistent money. So with playlists, yes, it can get you heard. It can get you heard by some of the right people. They could possibly get you more shows, of course, or it could get you heard by people that could possibly get you on a label. But how much are we putting into this? How much are we investing into this idea that we're the 1% that this happens to? You see, if I control my own destiny, then I'm not worried about it. It then becomes passive income. And then if I get into a playlist, which I've gotten into a few playlists with songs that have gone on to be, like I had a song land on Netflix called Lit, and that it ended up getting playlisted after that and everything like that. And yes, it makes passive income for me, which is amazing. But I never really searched for it. I never really went to go like, man, I got to get this playlist because everyone's going to hear it. And I can't really say that I know a few people that do the playlist heavy, and they live their whole life around it. They're basically trying to get playlisted all the time, and they're trying to get songs in these spaces and trying to get heard. However, um, in the same breath, a lot of them that I know that do this, I haven't seen a strong touring aspect to them. I haven't seen a strong uh show aspect to them. Some of them I do, some of them I don't. And you would think that if you can get those fans and they can be that strong through that scenario, then you would see a heavy amount of touring and a heavy amount of shows and sellouts and stuff like that. But then because of that, I feel like it's no way to actually control and know that that fan's gonna pay attention, because you got to think you have to have tons of people looking at you to make one fan actually come back and say, hey, I love this song and I want to go see them. So let's say you were every hundred people to hear this song. Let's give it a high number. Let's say 20 people out of every 100 to hear the song turned over. So now if you're trying to fill 1,000-person venue in one area, you got to have so many people within that area. That's what that's like 50, I think, like you have to hear 500, something like that. Like, we're not gonna do numbers today, but either way, you're looking at doing like 500. I think it's like 500 people would have to be like hearing like 20. Well, if we're 20%, like if we're 20% and it's only getting like 20 people out of every 100, then yeah, you're going to have to do a lot to get 1,000 people. You know what I'm saying? To get 1,000 people in that area to actually say, hey, I'm going to come see this kid and I want to go see what they're doing or whatnot. Like, so you got to think about it in those numbers. That basically, yes, you can get a mass play, you can get mass people to hear it. But now come back and think, how can I control that? How can I say, if it's all over America and it's playlisted all over America, how do I take control of those fans and say, I can get this music to all these fans? And now I can turn this into revenue because I know these places to hit. Now, I've watched a couple people pay attention to the places that they're the strongest at and then be able to pull it off. But the amount of plays they were getting was so monumental, it then goes, makes sense. Because if 10 million or 10 million people are watching you, and then you look at the areas where they're the strongest, and these places may have, like, let's say 1 million people listening to you. If 1 million people are listening to you, it's easy to turn around and get 1,000 people to come out. But this is betting on the idea that you can be that person that can get to that 10 million plays or 5 million plays. And if you can, do your thing. Do your thing. To me, I couldn't focus on that because I was thinking, I need money right now. I needed to live off music right now. So the only way I could go was the show route. And so I always use playlisting as the cherry on top or a way to leverage myself. So if I am going to put my music on a playlist, I'm looking at it to be like, this is a cherry on top. This is going to get me some numbers in this song. So then when I present this to sponsors, when I present this to another location, and when I present this to whoever I'm trying to get in the door with, I'm able to use that with what I have built in. And now when you have something already built in, now you can hit them with two things. That means, hey, I already do numbers over here. I already, when I come do shows, I already do numbers over here, so I know how to find fans, and people already love my music. Now I'm already starting to, like, the playlist is starting to show that I'm getting trends over here and everything like that. So then I'm just trying to replicate this right here over there, and then they're more apt to be like, yeah, I mess with this kid because they're serious about their craft and everything like that. But as I say, when people tell me, the first thing they ask is, well, how can I playlist? How can I playlist? That tells me that you're either not willing to do the work and you want something to where you can pay your way to the top, or figure out your way to the top because it landed over here, which tells me you're not really willing to do the work over here. So then at that point, I always have to say, what are you using this playlist for? Do you just want vanity metrics? Do you just want the metrics so people can say, oh man, he got 1 million plays? If that's it and that's cool, then that is what it is. 1 million plays, you get your $3,000. Dope. But if you're trying to live off music, you have to do more to it and use that as leverage. So that's the main thing. If you're looking for how to use playlisting, use it for leverage. That's what I say. Otherwise, you can get the vanity metrics and look how you want to look. And that's dope also.